I'd like you to put your hands together and welcome our next presenter on stage. He is head of KSA and Egypt Retail, MENA JLL. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome on stage Alfred Antoun.
Good morning, everyone. It's my first time in IRF, and I'm excited to be here. A little bit of a different subject than the local market. I'm hoping to give some insights about the international, global trends. We're going to start the presentation with some global trends, as I said, and then move a little bit into the UAE market and the GCC market in general. So to start with, I'd like to start with a snapshot on the international online retail sales that is obviously growing around the world. Maybe not too much in India yet, as we've seen from previous presentations. And also another important thing, how many department stores have closed in the US over the last years. This is very important when you look at these kind of figures to actually realize that the world of retail is changing, and it's changing, and we are already in the future of retail, as the motto of MAPIC says. This means that we all have to start thinking about new ways of doing what we used to do before, and we've chosen for you 4 trends. There's lots of others, definitely, but for the time limitation, we're going to start with those. Experimental stores, that is like, what should we do now? What's the next store going to look like? What kind of things we can add to the store to make it appealing for the new generations, for the new demographics that is also changing. The co-working spaces also is another trend that's happening a lot, especially between different types of businesses. So retail is joining probably with offices, spaces to have more of an experience kind of stores. The sports industry as well and the entertainment industry is coming more into the retail business. And last but not least would be the reimagining retail and some of the store concepts in the world and how it's changing. So on the experimental side, we've seen lots of brands. Like this snapshot is for a barber shop, but at the same time, a barber shop would be connected to probably another retail fashion store where you'd come in, do 2 things at once, but also will be experiential, and there has to be a brand identity behind it. So just putting things together will not probably be the right thing unless it's really a demand coming from or an experience that you are trying to share. So never forget, yes, we can start thinking out of the box and doing new experiences, but it has to be consumer driven and targeting, the new kind of experience that we want to see inside our malls or inside our shops. So moving on, the co-working spaces is also picked up recently over the past few years. We've seen a lot of the newcomers to markets, international brands, and also some of the local markets are adapting to co-working spaces. You usually see a lot of F&B going with these spaces, where you have a coffee shop and a restaurant to serve these co-working spaces. And it's not anymore in just an office tower. It's going into retail developments across the world. So all of these ideas would be supporting developments of retail developments and supporting new experiences in the markets to be identified. Sports and fitness, as I mentioned, and not only sports and fitness here, it's also the entertainment. Now, mixing these two together will be sports and fitness VR, let's say, as you see on this slide, and it can take you to another place where you're still in the same room, and imagine yourself having a different experience while at the same time it's a fitness exercise that will help you stay in shape. These are also concepts that we'll be talking to the new generations and also will be definitely driving footfall from to the developments. So we're not going to go into the details of the omni-channel and the AI and the big data and all of that, but it's very important that we ride the wave. All of these concepts that are coming online, it has to be adapted by a retail operator to stay on top, to stay ahead of the game. These are the new trends. These are where we need to be. So just a regular store now still talks to the customers. If you have a good brand, yes, that's good. But then what you do next is very important to be along with the changing dynamics of retail. Another important point in terms of the changing dynamics is how F&B is slightly moving forward with taking more of the retail space that is being vacated in some of the world internationally. So that increased sales by around 40%, drive time, dwell time, and spend and transactions. So increasing F&B is taking part of the retail space, yes, but also the F&B has to be experiential as well. So it's not your typical food court or your typical restaurant anymore. We'll see some of these trends. I will highlight them later on in the presentation, where some of the adaptation that has already happened and some experiences that were made in the UAE and other parts of the world. So in the next section, we're going to talk a little bit about the UAE market, where I come from. It's an exciting market, still growing, and the rest of the GCC is still growing, going into maturity more and more. If you look at the graph here, it will show you the economics and the population for the GCC market. UAE, in terms of the GDP, is the second after KSA. KSA is a big market. And as you can see from this slide, majority of the population is a young generation. So also this generation is changing the fabric of retail, changing the whatever the retail future is going to look like. So it's important to also cater for this demographic group. On the retail spend, as you can see, the UAE has still going in an increase of retail spend. This trend has been going on for many years now, and still going on. This shows a good strength in the local market. On the current also GLA and the space in the mall, we can clearly see that this market is really focused on super regional malls and regional malls. This is where all the majority of the prominent retail real estate is available. And if you can see also, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are both having high number of GLA in terms of proper retail. So currently, we are around going to add another 2.1 million square feet in the coming probably 3 years to the GLA, and these are all super regional and regional malls and all prominent, but also these malls are also adapting to the new norms, and this market has been adapting to the new norms by adding all the entertainment, all the latest kind of trends from the world to stay up to the game and stay with the changing dynamics. So some of the strategies that the UAE has adapted to is the growth of the F&B sector, and this clearly shows that they are adapting to the new norms of the market, where F&B, entertainment, and experiential is very important to keep the customer coming back to your developments. Dinnertainment is something that is another trend, actually. It's been adapted in the UAE, where you'd go to one place and you find an entertainment like bowling and F&B and drinks all in one place, and it's all for families or even corporate. So this brings the customer during the week and then also for the weekend. So it's an all-day experience. There's always a requirement for homegrown brands. Now, back in the days, we only focused on having the international brands to come and to be well set in a mall. Now, as we can see, there's a need to adapt the local approach also to the international and try to have some good mix. I think this is also part of the sharing experience and bringing some authenticity to the concepts themselves. So, and this is part of why we come from the Middle East to here, to India, to learn about the local brands and probably get these brands to come to the GCC and vice versa. Creativity also, that goes without saying. Some brands, yes, they always have like standards and they don't go beyond these standards. But also local customization, a little bit of creativity on these brands will serve it to go with more adaptations to the local market. Every market has its own pull to brands. So India, for an example, it has that authenticity on the local brands, which is probably something that they can use when going out to international markets, keeping that authenticity as well. Embracing the food delivery is also another part where the UAE has adapted to, and we believe that this is a good step, because taking it to the next limit, using all the technology that you have, supporting food delivery is the new trend of the market. People want things easy and fast, but also on the other side, you need to provide an experience when someone is going to a mall or someone is going to any shopping destination. So a combination of the two is very important. That's it for me, and thank you for everything, and thanks, Aya, for this day. Have a good day.